Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is another concert report. This time I went to Joliet, Illinois to see Cannibal Corpse. So I mentioned last concert report, my friend Pete in Plainfield, he picks me up at the train station. I crash at his place. He drives me to shows. It's great. He's never went with me to a metal show. I've been trying for years to get him to go. He's just not into metal. But I think that if I expose him to enough metal, one of these days something will click and he'll become a fan. So I'm never going to give up, you know. So he agreed to go with me to Cannibal Corpse, his first ever metal show. So decided he's older than me and he's got a bad hip. So I decided to get us reserved seats. The only reserved seating in the Forge are the seats along the balcony. So I paid $100 a pop for a couple seats in the balcony so Pete could sit. This place was sold out and people were packed in like sardines. So that's not how you want somebody, to experience their first metal show, especially at our age. Like I said, he's older than me. I'm old. He's older than me. So we go to the Forge. Doors aren't open yet. There's a line wrapped around the building. The place holds around 1,000 people, I think. Nine something. I don't know. I'll look it up. But it's around 1,000. Doors weren't open yet. Lines around the building. I should have shot some footage waiting in line, but honestly, it was cold and windy, and I was freezing. I was shivering, and I was just in no mood to shoot video as cold as I was. I apologize. There was like a flute lady, some lady playing a flute for tips on the sidewalk. It was a little weird. I should have shot some of that. But no, we get inside, we get a special wristband to show that we have reserved seats, right? We go upstairs, we sit. Nice view, good view. So, first up is Black Anvil. They have a new album out. I checked out a song and I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it enough to listen to the rest of the album. They weren't bad. They weren't bad. They're kind of black metalish, I guess. I'm gonna give their album a proper listen, because they weren't bad. They had some microphone problems, couldn't hear the singer that well most of the night, you know. Other than that, they didn't sound terrible. I'll check them out. Uh, Between bands, Pete would go out for a cigarette. He's a cigarette smoker, so he would leave. I'd stay in our seats. You know, he comes back. Immolation is up next. Immolation is one of those bands that I like but don't love. So I haven't heard all their stuff. I'm sorry. I've listened to their first album. I've listened to their most recent album. I've heard stuff here and there. You know, they were great live. I really enjoyed seeing them live. And I promise I'm just going to, one of these days, I'm just going to start from the beginning and listen to their entire discography a couple times in a row and get caught up because I feel like I've kind of missed out a little bit on Immolation, for whatever reason. I make snap decisions sometimes. Like I'll listen to one song and decide I don't like a band kind of thing. And that's wrong. I'm trying to get over that. Give things, expand my horizons. So yeah, I'm going to listen to more Immolation and kind of immerse myself in them for a day or two and see what happens. Uh, Pete goes out to smoke. He comes back. He says, you should come out with me, out in the smoking area. He had like a conversation, both times he was out there with different people. And he's like, yeah, people smoking weed because it's legal here. So people are out there like smoking weed in the cigarette smoking area. He's like, you should come out. So, yeah, whatever, I'll think about it. So next up is Dark Funeral, Swedish black metal band, obviously. I've seen them before. I saw them in, I want to say 2018 in Las Vegas. They put on a great show. I mean, I mean, it's great. It's hard for me. I'm not really doing a review. This is a report, not a review, because everybody sounded great. Like I said, everybody I listen to that I'm not familiar with, I want to listen to more. You know, I'm very familiar with Dark Funeral. I love Dark Funeral. I'd love to see them again. They're great. So after Dark Funeral finishes, I tell Pete, I'm going to go out with you to the smoking area. Just stretch my legs, use the restroom, whatever. I've been sitting for 3 bands. So he's like, we'll lose our seats. I'm like, we got wristbands. We won't lose our seats. So we get up, and the guys behind us have been standing there for the whole show, because it's the seats are reserved, but you can stand right behind the seat. Just general admission. So the same dudes were standing behind our seat, for the whole show. So when I get up and turn around, the guy asked me, he says, "Are you coming back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're both coming back." So he knew, not to take our seats. We're coming back. So we go out to the smoking area. I'd say I got some fresh air, but everybody was smoking, so it wasn't really fresh air, right? I'm not a cigarette smoker. Okay. Uh, use the restroom, stretch my legs. Like, we go back upstairs, and there's 2 guys sitting in our seats, right? So we see them sitting in our seats, and Pete's like, "You know what? Just let them go. It's not worth it. Let them go." And he walks, and I follow him, to there's like a bench. He sits down. So I'm thinking, I paid $100 a piece for these seats. I've never seen Cannibal Corpse. I can't see. There's too many people standing behind these seats. I can't see the stage. I paid so I could see the stage. So I walk up. I'm wearing my battle vest, so I'm not afraid, right? And the only reason I would be afraid, alcohol is being consumed. Okay. And when alcohol is being consumed, people aren't always reasonable, right? So that's on the back of my mind. It's like, I've had a few myself, right? At $10 a beer. Did I mention the beers were $10 at the Forge? You know, $10 for a tall boy. I mean, come on. Really? I digress. So I walk up there, and I'm like formulating in my head, what's the first thing out of my mouth? The guy that was standing behind me, which is still standing there, he sees me. He recognizes me. He taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, they're in your seats." I'm like, "Yeah, I see it." So I walk up there, and I tap the guy. I didn't poke him. I didn't want to be aggressive. I didn't poke him. I tapped him, right? And he just sat there. So I tapped him a little bit harder. And he real slowly kind of turned around and looked at me. So I said, "You're in my seat." That's all I said. "You're in my seat." And he kind of stared at me, like trying to think of what to say, I guess. And finally he said, "Did anybody save him for you?" And I'm like, "Nobody had to save him for me. I've got a wristband. Do you have a wristband?" And he's like, he looked at my wristband, and I guess he noticed that I had, 2 wristbands instead of one. He's like, "No." And then he kind of stares at me again, right? So I finally just did like this, like, "Well, you know, and he's staring at me, and I'm good at staring, so I'm staring back. I'm not gonna back down from this guy. It's like, you're in my fucking seat, and you're not moving. Finally, he slowly gets up, and I don't move, so he's like scooting. He's like rubbing against me, scooting between me and the chair to get out of the way. And I kind of shot him a look, and I sat down in my seat. And I looked at the other, his buddy was sitting in Pete's seat. So he's just sitting there looking at me. And I said, "That's my friend's seat. He's on his way back." And he's like, "Okay, man. Okay, man." And he got up and got out of the seat. So I texted Pete, I got our seats back. So yeah, no problems. Like I said, the only reason that metalheads I've found are generally reasonable people, you know, until alcohol and or I don't want to say drugs. I'm like not an anti-drug person. I know weed, doesn't make people violent. Alcohol can make people plenty violent. Okay. So yeah, I mean there was security. I knew there was a security guard, just around the corner. If these guys, I mean, that was all I was going to do. I mean, I wasn't going to. Pete's the kind of guy that if Pete, the reason Pete walked away instead of going up and getting a seat back is because Pete's the kind of guy, he would tell you one time to get out of his seat. And if you didn't get up and get out of his seat immediately, he would probably grab the seat and yank it out from under you. That's the reason Pete walks away. It's not because he's afraid to confront somebody. It's because if you don't comply, you're going to end up on the ground. And he knows that's wrong, you know. So he just chooses to avoid confrontation. You know, I was going to go up and ask the guy to leave. And if he didn't leave, I was going to go get security but anyway, that was that. Cannibal Corpse. So Cannibal Corpse comes on. Cannibal Corpse. I'll put the set list on the screen. They did 4 Chris Barnes songs, and I'll just take this opportunity to say, God bless Chris Barnes. Genius lyricist. They were great. I mean, you know, my concert reviews. That's like I said. It's not a review. It's a report. My concert reports. I can't really name a band that I've seen in recent memory that I was disappointed in. You know, it's like, man, you know, Cannibal Corpse, they brought it. They were great. Talk about George's solo album. Corpsegrinder, this is old news, but I didn't have a channel when this was new news. So yeah, Corpsegrinder, they released Acid Vat as a single. That was an amazing song. I loved that song. Almost pre-ordered the album based on that song. And then the album comes out and I stream it, and the rest of the album sounds nothing like that song. It was like a major bait and switch, right? In my opinion. So, this was great. The whole night, everything was great. Show was great. I loved the Forge. Shirts, I bought a shirt. I think it's cool. They had about four different designs, with the tour. No dates on the back. It's got, whatever tour, 2022 and all the cities, but the cities don't have dates. Anyway, yeah, $30. I bitched about $40 at Merciful Fate. I'm okay with 30. Okay, I guess it's a small thing, $10, but I know what these things cost to print. Okay, so charging $40 is ridiculous. 30 is at the high end. I think Immolation shirts were 25, Black Anvil shirts were 25. I didn't see what Dark Funeral shirts were. Would have liked to have had a Dark Funeral shirt, but I've already got a Dark Funeral shirt. So just went with the one shirt. I guess that's it. I mean, I'm happy that I went. Would love to go to more shows at the Forge. Uh, like I said, great venue. No problems. Easy access. I mean, it's like you're like a block away from I think it's a Harrah's casino, and there's like this huge parking garage. So we parked, probably not supposed to. We parked in the casino parking garage and walked over. So yeah, it's easy to get to. It's great. So that's going to be it for my concert going, probably for the rest of the year. It's almost Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and it's my busy season, so work will keep me busy. Uh, Looking forward to next year, April, Metal Threat Fest in Lombard, Illinois is looking like it could be like a must go to situation. I'll put the stuff on the screen. Like they've already announced like Impaled Nazarene and Dead Congregation, Necrodeath, I think. Yeah, I'll put those up on the screen. I mean, this is in April. It's a 3-day fest. Something may turn up before then, but yeah, if nothing else, I'm planning on going to all 3 days of that. Shooting ton of video, hopefully. Uh, that's all I got. I mean, next video, I may have some more concert footage to upload. When I'm editing this video, I'll go through all my footage and see what else I can upload. I may have Immolation video, and I may have a Cannibal Corpse video to upload. Then after that, my next video will be a collection update. As promised, an all cassette update. I'm going to do my first ever all cassette update, show you all my cassettes, which is not that many. After that, back to vinyl. I still got some vinyl to show you, and I'm working on some things. So it's weird. These last 2 weeks are kind of a blur because it's like, this is like a 4.5 to 5 hours, depends. Sometimes the trains, they run behind, but 4.5 to 5 hour Amtrak trip each way. And I did that last week, and then I did it again this week. So I'm old, and it takes me some time to recover, right? So yeah, that's it. I mean, like I said, I'm going to try to get back in the swing of things, back with the collection updates. It was fun, taking these 2 weeks, going to shows, but back to work, stay home and do collection updates. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.